All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is given a graph, I'm going to ask you guys to graph the image or the figure using the transformation given. It could be either of the forward. It could be either of the forward. In my example, question number 1, I have translation. Let's see. There you go. All right, so I have a translation. According to mine, it says 2 units to the left and 2 units down. Another way I can give you guys a notation of 2 units to the left is x minus 2. Right, that's another way I could say 2 to the left. Another way I could say 2 units down would be y minus 2. So that's another way I could tell you guys. So all I'm going to do in this case, move everything 2 to the left and 2 down. So if I follow h, 2 to the left, 2 down, that gives me h prime. If I follow g, 2 to the left and 2 down, that gives me g prime. The same thing I will do for j and I. I connect them. Seems like I move everything 2 to the left and 2 down. But once again, it could be either of the 4, not just translation. Now, looking at question number 2, I'm going to ask you guys to write a rule. First thing we do is, if we can see what it is, like if you guys can see what it is, then just write it out. Like if you guys can see it. If you cannot, then follow a point. In my case, I'm going to follow the point D. The coordinates of point D are 2 and 3. The coordinates of D prime are -3, +2. So I know on the test, you would not be able to tell the difference between black and blue, but you can tell the original picture, the letters are by themselves, like D, E, and F. On the second one, D prime, E prime, F prime. So use that notation to know which one came after. Okay, so I asked myself, I ignored the signs, and I say, did the numbers switch? And I'm more like, yep, it seems like they swapped a y and an x. Then I look at the x value on D, which is a 2, and I ask myself, did the 2 switch signs? I'm like, no, it did not. Then I look at the y value, which is 3, and I ask myself, did the 3 switch signs? Which it did. Then I look at my table, and I'm going xy equals turns into.
Sorry for the interruption. All seniors, the CSUB presentation is tomorrow, the 28th. It's not today. The CSUB presentation will be tomorrow. Thank you.
So xy becomes -yx, and that tells me it's rotation 90 counterclockwise. If you guys saw that, I was turning 90 degrees against the clock, then you should have written it from the beginning. So if you can see it, then go for it. If you cannot, follow a point. Once again, 2 of those also on the test. It could be either of the 4 transformations. Any questions on those, or do you guys at least want to see an example of a specific transformation? Yes? Like, what transformation do you guys want? Is there a transformation specifically want? Never mind.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Are you guys okay? Exact. I can come up with many examples. I can show you guys other transformations. The number 4, number 3. I mean number 2, number 1. Eh, my bad. I'm calling number 4. Huh? My bad. All right, number 1. So it says dilation of 0.25. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the coordinates that I have right now. So I see that the coordinates of W are -1, 0. The coordinates of X are -3, -1. And the coordinates of V are 0, -4. Now, dilation of 0.25, I'm going to multiply everything by 0.25. So W prime should be -0.25, 0. X prime will be -0.75, and negative 0.25. And my coordinates of v prime should be 0, negative 1. Right, I multiplied everything by 0.25. Then I'm going to graph it. W prime is 1/4 to the left. So imagine that you break this into 4 spaces. So W prime should be about there. Then X prime is negative 3/4. So 3/4 to the left and 1/4 down is going to be about there. And then V is just 1 down from the origin. So it looks like that. Right. Because my dilation, my scale factor is less than 1, I expect my picture to get smaller. So it did. Okay. Anything else? Times every number. X and Y, yeah. Depending on the instruction. If the instruction I'm asking you to graph it. Homework, I might ask you, give me the coordinates of, X prime or V prime or something. So depending on the instructions. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions on these type of questions? Yes. No. We're good. So, no more questions on these. All right. So 2 of each on the test tomorrow, right? Now my examples 3 and 4 are all numerical. So now on these, I'm gonna do 3 of each on the test. So the first one is find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure after the given transformation. Have a dilation of 2. So multiplied everything by 2. So J prime will be negative 2, negative 2. K prime will be negative 2, 0. L prime will be 2, 4. And M prime will be 0, negative 2. Multiplied everything by 2. Now, if I look at my exact question number 4, I see that W is at the beginning, W prime is at the very end. This one's asking me to write a rule, and I know that happens on reflection. So from the get-go, I already know it's reflection. So I'm going to say, well, reflection across something. So let me figure it out. What I'm looking for is, do my numbers flip and do the signs change? So W is not a good point to follow because one of the values is 0. And I will not know if it changes signs. X, I will not know if the number flips, 3 and 3. Y would total be really bad. And then Z, well, we'll see right now. And then Z, I would not know if they flip. So the first thing I want to know is, do my numbers flip? In W, it's okay for me to do that. Right? I ignore the signs. So I see a 4 and a 0, and then I see W prime 4 and a 0. So I can tell that the numbers did not flip, right? I ignore the signs. Then I want to see if my signs switch. The X value in W, I can still tell that X value doesn't switch. So that's okay. Now the Y value, I'm not going to check the Y value of W. I'm going to check the Y value of X. So I'm looking at a 3, and X prime tells me negative 3. So I know the YW did switch. So I'm looking for XY becomes X negative Y, and that is reflection across X axis. And then that's pretty much it. So 3 of each on the test, right? And that makes it 10. There's 10 questions. You're going to have a quote unquote numbered 11, which is the table. That way the table will be on the board, but then that way you also have it on your paper. So there's only 10 questions, but there's something called number 11. It's not a question itself, it's the transformations table. That way you guys also have it. Any questions?